Hi there, and welcome back. We have some review to do with this picture. I'm sorry, my thoughts just left me. The first thing I want to do is tell you the source of this image. It's from Clip Art Library online. And I Googled free images of an animal cell. So this one is an animal cell. And by the time this video is over, you will know why. You will be able to tell me, hopefully, if the cell that you're seeing is plant or animal. So I want to go through these terms just quickly. I'm not going to spend all day on them. There is one of them that I do want to define that was not part of our definitions, but we do need to know it. So, first of all, can you tell me the type of cell? You know it is an animal cell because I told you that it is. But is it a prokaryote? Or is it a eukaryote? And remember, the test for these two is whether or not there is a nucleus. If you see a nucleus and you see some organelles, that is the clue. That is the answer to the question. So it is the E one, the eukaryote, because it has a nucleus and it has these little organelles. Here's one that we haven't talked about. There's mitochondria. You know about cytoplasm and membranes. So most of these we have seen. We'll look the others up just so that we can tell what we're talking about. But let's just quickly go around. Let's remember the ones that we know. We have the nucleus is the brain of the cell. The endoplasmic reticulum, you have both smooth and rough. This is the little highway that carries the nutrients and the things that we need for survival. And I'm just using these common everyday words to help you visualize a little bit better. The Golgi apparatus is the factory. It's a packaging facility. It's not a factory. Let's use a different. This is like the UPS store where all the packages come in, UPS sorts them and ships them out on the highway. So the Golgi apparatus is this purple thing. It does that packaging of vital things. Cytoplasm, remember that's cell jelly. So that's the stuff that gives the cell its shape, keeps it in that form. The membrane is the skin. Okay. The mitochondria is your powerhouse. This is like the electrical facility in my neighborhood that generates all the power for our neighborhood. So the one that I have not told you about is ribosomes, and this is one that I want you to know about. I want you to have seen it before. It's referring to these little dots sprinkled throughout there. Those are what we're going to call protein factories. And if you go on into biology, you'll learn the proper thing of this. But ribosomes are where proteins are synthesized. And if you've heard the term amino acids, those are going to be part of ribosome function. So proteins are definitely important to a cell. So what about the rest of this stuff? Let's focus right here just a minute. Cyto, which we know is cell, skeleton. So this one translates loosely to cell skeleton. Now you know what a skeleton is. So if you put that concept with cell, this is something that helps to give structure to your cell. Okay, centrioles. and they're pointing to these are organelles in this animal cell. And I want to remind you how to use Google to help you. So for centrioles and chromatin and nucleolus, let me remind you how to do this because it's a good skill to know. You simply Google the term that you're looking for. You want to make sure you spell it correctly. And with mine, this very complex definition pops up here. So let's see what happens. Oh my, that is just a lot to read. So here's a trick that I have learned that works very well. I wanted to show you this also. If you don't know how to pronounce a word, I meant to show you this when we did Prokaryote because it is different than Eukaryote. You can go to YouTube and click on the word that you want to pronounce.
Prokaryote.
And it will pronounce it for you. So that's a very helpful feature on some of these extremely hard words. And I can't resist, guys. Let's see what they say about the term that I had a question on. Which professor? Is it the professor or was it my high school teacher who was right? Here we go.
Eukaryote.
Dr. Burnett was right, and that doesn't surprise me because he was the expert. So I'm sorry about that. I meant to show you that back when we were doing it, and now I can't get back to it. So let's try this. All right. Centrioles. We still didn't. I lost track of what I was saying. I'm getting myself all confused. So let's Google that again. Centrioles for kids. If you can't get something to make sense to you, look for kids. Put that little phrase on there and it will help you simplify the definition. And there is nothing wrong with that. So look at this definition of centrioles. Every animal-like cell has two small organelles called centrioles. They are there to help the cell when it comes time to divide. They are put to work in both the process of mitosis and the process of meiosis. So this little fella right there, the centriole, is there for the cell to reproduce. When it's time for this cell to split into two new cells, the centrioles help with that. So it helps with cell division. And let me show you that process again because I want you to know how to do an internet search that's actually going to tell you something. So let's search for the word chromatin. And because I want it to be as simple as possible, I'm going to say chromatin for kids. Okay, and here is the definition. This is as simple as it can get because this is incredibly complicated. Chromatin is a way for DNA to take up less space in the nucleus of the cell. Loose DNA is called chromatin when it becomes tighter. This is done by wrapping itself around structures called histones. Histones are small molecules that look like little balls. Okay, so all I'm looking for, loose DNA. That's sort of a good definition. It's not the best one, but it's close enough. So if you look at this cell, you're looking at the nucleus. That loose DNA is that stringy looking stuff in the nucleus. So you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to just simplify this as much as possible. Okay, so let's look at Nucleolus one more time and then I'll give this a rest. So Nucleolus for kids. And that's going to give me a very much easier to read. The main function of the nucleolus is to make the small parts or subunits which make up ribosomes, which are the construction workers of the cell. The nucleolus makes the subunits from ribosomal RNA and proteins. So, all I'm going to take away from that is that it makes ribosomes. Do you need to memorize this? No, you do not. You just need to be able to read what's in front of you. So sometimes knowing the little tricks to help you break it down. The problem is that on the test you will not have Google, so you're not going to be able to go back and Google things. But hopefully by the time you get to the test, if you've studied your definitions, you know a general idea of what those are talking about, you know your morphemes, you will be able to read those a little bit better. Okay, I want to just quickly hit the plant cell because I want you to notice a couple of things. First of all, there are some similarities to the animal cell, and then there are some differences, and we're going to look at that in the next video. But let me just highlight the things that are the same. Both of them have a smooth ER, which means there are no ribosomes stuck to it. They both have ribosomes and Golgi. They both have nucleolus and nucleus and rough ER. They both have a cell membrane, the skin. There's Golgi again. They both have mitochondrion and they both have cytoplasm. So these are the ways that plant cells and animal cells are the same. So how are they different? What are some key things? Well, plants have chloroplasts. They have vacuoles, large vacuoles. Animal cells have vacuoles too, but not this large type. I want you to look at this guy. Look at that huge vacuole right in the middle. See that? That big thing takes up almost the whole cell. That is called a vacuole, and that stores water and other things. It also helps the plant to stand upright. When the vacuoles are full of water, that plant is going to stand up straight. What happens when it hasn't rained for a long time? The plants wilt. They lean to the side because the vacuoles are dry. There's nothing in there to hold that plant up straight. The easiest way to tell a plant cell from an animal cell is the presence of a cell wall. A plant cell will have that cell wall to hold it upright, keep it rigid and straight. Animal cells do not have a cell wall. So that's one important fact that we can take away. And I didn't tell you the source, I'm sorry. It's learnwise.co, and the author is E.M. Armstrong. So I want to always give credit to the author. I'm not trying to steal anyone's work here. You also see some crystals. We're not going to get into that, but in this diagram, we're going to compare plants and animals, and we'll get how they're the same and how they're different. You know the question, though, that I'm going to ask you. Is it a prokaryote or is it a eukaryote? And the test is, does it have a nucleus? And it does. Here's the nucleus of the plant cell. So the plant cell is a eukaryote. It is similar to an animal cell in that way. And we will be adding that to our diagram in the next film. So I will see you soon, and we will finish up this plant or this cell introduction.